I thought the rumors about the forest were just stories until I saw it standing at the side of the road, taller than any man, completely still, its head turned toward my car like it had been waiting for me. People around the town didn't argue about whether something lived in the forest. They argued about what it was called. Some said the Leshy because that's what their grandparents had used. Others just called it the Thing or said, "Don't go past the old logging road after dark," and left it at that. Nobody tried to explain it properly, and nobody joked about it either. People who grew up there learned early which trails were safe and which ones you didn't take unless you didn't plan on coming back. I didn't grow up there. I was driving through at night because the shortcut saved time and my phone map still showed the road as usable. The pavement narrowed fast, cracked and broken, trees leaning in so close their branches scraped the roof of the car. The signal dropped out without warning, the screen freezing and then going dark like it had been switched off by hand. I should have turned around then, but I didn't. I kept going until something stepped into the road and made me slam the brakes. It wasn't fast. It didn't jump out. It just walked across, tall enough to fill the headlights, then stopped on the other side of the road and stood there like it was waiting to see what I'd do next. I stayed in the car for a full minute, breathing hard, telling myself it was a deer standing upright for a second, or my eyes playing tricks on me. But the shape didn't move and didn't drop back down. I opened the door. The forest smelled wet and rotten, like leaves that had been left too long in a pile. It was quiet in a way that made my ears ring. No insects, no wind, no distant traffic. When I took a step forward, my boot sank slightly and scraped against something hard underneath. It was a dull, hollow grind. I looked down and saw pieces of bone pressed into the mud, old and pale, packed together so tightly it looked like the ground itself had been built on top of them. Something stood up behind me. I didn't hear it move. I felt it. The way you feel someone standing too close before you turn around. It was tall enough that its head pushed into the lower branches. Its body thick and uneven, built wrong from the ground up. Its skin looked rough and dark, split in places where muscle showed through, and its arms hung too long at its sides, hands almost brushing the ground. Antlers twisted up from its head, tangled with moss and scraps of fabric that might once have been shirts or jackets. Its eyes caught the light and held it. I tried to run and the forest closed. Trees shifted sideways, trunks grinding against each other as roots tore free from the ground. The road behind me vanished in seconds, swallowed by branches and bark. I turned and ran in the only direction left, slipped, and went down hard as something wrapped around my ankle and yanked. Pain ripped up my leg as my skin tore open, and I screamed, the sound dying almost as soon as it left my mouth. The thing walked toward me without hurry. Branches bent away from its body as it passed, the ground darkening under its feet. I crawled until my hands hit something solid and wet, and when I looked, I saw what was left of a body split open and pulled apart. Ribs broken outward, arms bent backward at angles no living person could survive. I tried to scramble away and felt a heavy foot plant itself in the middle of my back, pinning me down so hard the breath punched out of my chest. The thing leaned closer. It smelled like blood and damp earth. When it spoke, the sound was low and rough, like a voice dragged out of something that didn't use one often. "You're far in." I started begging. I didn't plan the words, they just came out. The thing laughed, a deep sound that shook the branches overhead, and grabbed my leg with one hand. It dragged me backward through mud and bone, my fingers clawing at the ground until my nails split and tore away. It hauled me into a wide clearing where the dirt was packed dark and hard. Bones piled in rough stacks around the edge like markers. Nothing around us looked fresh or untouched, like it had been used the same way over and over. It dropped my leg and crouched over me, pressing fingers into my arms and shoulders, testing, squeezing, finding places that hurt. When it twisted my shoulder, something popped, and the pain made my vision blur. It seemed to enjoy that, watching my face closely, leaning in whenever I made a sound. It let me breathe for a moment, but then it pulled me upright and slammed me back down, hard enough that my head cracked against the ground. Before I could recover, it braced one foot against my chest and yanked on my arm. It broke with a wet, grinding sound as my scream cut off and everything went white. When I came back, I was hanging. Roots or vines wrapped around my wrist and pulled me up off the ground, tightening every time I moved. My arm hung uselessly at my side, swollen and purple, pain pulsing through it in steady waves. Below me, the thing tore into my leg with its teeth, ripping away flesh in thick strips. Blood soaked into the dirt, steaming faintly in the cold air. I watched it eat. Every time my eyes rolled back, it looked up at me and pressed harder until the pain dragged me back again. It didn't rush. It didn't need to. When it finished, it stood and looked at what was left of me, then reached up and pressed its fingers into my face, rough and strong. The last thing I remember was the sound of branches snapping and the pain in my shoulders as it pulled me higher. Darkness took me before I could feel anything else. The rumors had never been stories at all. No one found me.